Hello again, CO300. It is wonderful to see kind of you. I hope that you are settling into routines and will continue to give me feedback as we work through this process. It is Saturday afternoon and I've got just a few responses on the survey so far, so please do remember to do those each week so that I can continue to tweak things, to make things better, to figure out how to prioritize, and I hope that you're doing well. And as always, feel free to check in. It'd be great to see you in office hours or if we do a Zoom conference meeting. So here we go. If you are like me, you might be feeling a little bit like this right now, but I hope those feelings are lessening. We're going to get through there. We're going to get there. So here we go. Week 11. As usual, we have our course objectives linking back to our course syllabus, kind of outlining our goals for this video. Ultimately, this week, we're going to focus on synthesis using our resources and multimodal elements. When we talk about synthesis, we're really talking about relating all of the information that you have, trying to build those connections to each other. For us, this is going to be especially important in the website to build ethos, to demonstrate logos, and to make use of all the great sources that you've been working with for a few months now. In past semesters, I've used something like this so that you can start to organize these ideas. However, you've kind of already started to do this in your P2, so this is an assignment that I've cut. If visual rhetoric is easier for you to process, you might benefit from building yourself a little grid or a visual organizer to see which sources are in line. In this model, your ideas would go here in concern 1, kind of starting to outline your content pages, and then outlining information from one source, similar information from a second source, maybe counter-argument from a third source, showing how all of these sources interact, how they relate to the same issue, kind of organizing the information to be able to support one idea with multiple sources. This is still one of my favorite metaphors. Good synthesis looks like the Avengers. For instance, you have the Hulk, super strong, super smashy. You have a witch. You have long distance range fighting. You have the sweetheart of America. You have a god. You have royalty, and I guess like snarky teenagers or something. Altogether, those powers combine to make a really strong team. Your sources are your team. What happens when we just use one source and we have Hulk smash, and then we kind of Hulk smash some more, and then we get a little bit angrier, and then there's some more teeth gritting and things, and then we have maybe another little voice or perspective. All of that doesn't support the team as well as the whole cast, as well as having all those different balanced voices. So when you think about your research, think about your team of Avengers, and rather than just Hulk smashing and having one source that you repeatedly use over and over, it becomes a lot less effective and kind of obnoxious. Another metaphor might be you might use the fruit salad and smoothie metaphor that I like. In a fruit salad, you have lots of different components. They're all very discrete, so you can separate them out, you can identify them and kind of mix and match, which isn't necessarily what we're going for. It's not bad, but we prefer a smoothie where you have all of these different ideas blended together, working to complement each other. You can still taste the different varieties, you can still see what's in there, but it's much more blended, it's much more cohesive, it's much more united. When you think about your sources, when you try to synthesize, we want to make sure that all of these sources really come together in multiple sections, that you're citing them multiple times, that it's clear how these sources are related to each other. One of the ways that you can do this is through strong author tags. This also builds your ethos. For instance, my example here, Captain America, the first Avenger member and veteran, explains that. This way we know exactly who Captain America is, we know where the source comes from, we know why you trust it. If you think back to your P2 evaluation, you should have a lot of that information there, and then can establish why these sources work well together. Giving that context demonstrates that much more in the strengths of your argument. Another way that we'll be synthesizing in this project is with multimodal elements. So when we think about this, multimodal just means multiple modes of communication. So while we also know that with this website, you have a lot of sources at your disposal. For example, videos, interactive multimedia. You can use different colors, images, the way that you transition between pages. All of these are going to contribute to your synthesis and make your web page, your website that much more interactive, to make it that much more of an interactive experience. So I'll give you a few moments again here to think about multimodal elements that you've seen in your research: graphs, charts, tables, pictures, color schemes that might be beneficial in your P3. So take a moment and start me back up when you're ready. All right. This is one table that I found that I think gives a lot of different options, and you might choose to draw from this in your brainstorming as well. If you're looking for images that you don't have access to, I've had students in the past who enjoy photography that have used their own images. Otherwise, make sure that you use these open source options. Pixabay and Flickr both give permission to use their information. So in these, you need to make sure that you're citing appropriately, especially if you're using other articles, other videos, other sources throughout that are credited that are not open source. Open source means they're free for anybody to use, and you just need to say in your works cited, images courtesy of Pixabay, images all drawn from Flickr, for example. If you're looking for a few models, these are the same examples that I posted for you last week. They might give you good ideas on how you might include graphics, images, and how these different students have synthesized. Like I said last week, I will also start outlining what I want you to get from the homework. These two articles really give a good demonstration of voice and purpose. Oh, there's the hiccups again. Okay, there you go. Some things don't change. Where was I? Right, Fish and Young. So with these, looking at your voice and your purpose, figuring out who your audience is and how they need you to communicate in order to establish this information. I forgot to ask the video question, so now I'm learning how to insert videos. Your video question this week is about Fish and Young. How do you plan to curate your voice to match your audience? What kind of voice do they expect? Using a quote from either Fish or Young, support your rhetorical choice for your voice, showing how that choice was informed by the text. Okay, back to the other lecture. This can also help us be deliberate as we think about how we want to communicate and make choices effectively. This could relate to the pronouns. This could relate to the terminology that you use for your issue. I think our librarian told us the difference between searching for marijuana versus cannabis. Even those connotations and denotations are really important, kind of like we talked about in P1. So think about your language, think about your voice in relation to what your audience needs and who you are as an organization. Because our other assignment is the About page. This is where you'll get to establish really what you want your organization to do. This is where you'll essentially present your thesis, thinking about a lot of these different rhetorical components and what you want to achieve. A lot of this information you might draw from your P2. This is kind of what you started to outline in your proposal, so you might go back to that for notes on how you did. You might also look at your genre analysis to see what is going to be most effective for your audience, what kinds of expectations they have, and how you can present yourself. One thing that I will draw your attention to, in this, we are being a bit unrealistic, perhaps, in establishing your organization. You might choose to establish yourself in your own reality as the author. You might rely on your actual real-life personal experiences, or you might choose to identify as your organization, using we as in the people who work here, even though it's kind of fake. So you can establish how you want to do this, but it is I would encourage you not to just make up past life experiences and things like that to draw from. But I hope that you can start to establish who your organization is ideally and how your experiences influence it. Which leads us to homework. For us, we are going through another discussion this week, due Wednesday and Friday, remember? One of those discussion posts will be based on Fish and Young. As you think through the genre conventions, in addition to what you found in your genre analysis, think about Rose's writing for the public. There's also an article in Raw that I typically assign from Takayoshi and Self about multimodality that could be helpful, but Rose and Takayoshi and Self are not required. About page is due Sunday as well. Start drafting. My note at the bottom encourages you to sign up for conferences, which are linked in your Sunday assignments, and the video below for week 12 will outline what conferences will look like for that week. So check it out. Have a lovely rest of week 11, and I'll look forward to seeing you for conferences. Stay in touch, everybody, and be safe. Bye.